What is going on, YouTube? PPS back here. It is Past the Prop Wednesday edition. It is our DFS and Thursday Night Football breakdown slate today. Joining as always with my guy, Stu, Monotone Football. How we doing, my dude?
I'm doing great, man. It was a good weekend. I believe I've hit 5 straight over the course of our last couple Past the Prop shows, which obviously makes me feel pretty good. Makes me excited to try to keep that going on today's show.
Love it, love it, love it. Yep, we got Crispy Locks in here. He's way early, over an hour early. Got Terrence in here. Appreciate you guys popping in here early. But yes, we have crossed over into the green after the Thursday Night Football debacles we had the first 2 weeks, and we got our third week sweep. So hopefully we'll be able to keep that momentum going here.
Yeah.
First off, what we always want to start out with was just the recap. We had Richie James come through. I think he was the darling of everybody. I think I saw every single person.
Comments loved him, right? Multiple guys in the comments were preaching us the Richie James choir. So that was fun to see.
Yeah, and luckily I was off of the chalk receiving yards of Tony Pollard and just took his rushing. I saw so many people on the receiving. I'm like, I was so surprised he didn't get any, but dude just cooked. What do you have, like a 50-yard run in there? I really would have liked that touchdown, but it is what it is. And then unfortunately, Sterling Shepard got injured there at the end of the game, but he did come through for us for the 5 catches before heading off. Non-contact injury, obviously, that's not what you really want to see there. But yeah, finally back in that green. Love to see it. Now it's time to start building on it. Did you have any takeaways from that game and that Dallas-New York game? We haven't talked about the recap of that game at all, but was there anything you wanted to talk about at least?
I mean, that game might have been one of my favorites of the season so far. It just feels good for everything to go kind of exactly how you wanted it to, right? Plenty of sacks. I hit the Trayvon Diggs plus 410 interception along with Daniel Jones just to throw an interception. I loved watching him get sacked. I was very confident that the Cowboys were going to win that game. They played very dumb in the first half. They still ended up winning. My main takeaway is Cooper Rush is a solid, good enough quarterback. We should look at him like how we look at someone like Jacoby Brissett or someone like Teddy Bridgewater. But we don't. We look at him a couple tiers under that, despite the fact that he's come in and been a fine game manager so far. Additionally, like we said before, that Dallas D-line is scary. It's going to continue to be scary for the rest of the season. That obviously worries me as a Washington fan. As for the Giants, losing Shepard is hard. They're really going to need Tony and Wan'Dale Robinson to come back and be good if they want to compete, because that offense is terrible, right? Every time they throw the ball to Kenny Golladay, he drops it. Now they don't have Sterling Shepard. It's going to be an ugly offense. It's going to be hard for Saquon to really reach that fantasy value we want him to if they can't kind of trick the defense. If we just know they're going to try to run every play, it's pretty easy to game plan around that. So obviously a red flag for the Giants and kind of a green flag for the Cowboys. They did what I expected, and I was glad to see them get the win right there.
Yeah, it's going to be a little harder for my Daniel Jones most improved. But if he is able to do it with a team without Sterling Shepard and having to do all this, I think that obviously makes him look even better as well. Didn't really need to throw it around much. Obviously, he was running for his life most of the time there. But what I took away was just how good that Dallas front seven is. I talked about it in the show, but being able to actually see it, like there was probably 3 sacks that should have been sacks that Daniel Jones was falling over and threw it away or took an intentional grounding or a hold, So, I mean, Dallas's defense could have easily had 8 sacks in that game. And that's something you really don't hear of much in today's football, where that defensive line is that good. And Lawrence had 3 sacks, then gets hurt, and then comes back out and starts putting pressure again. It was a clinic on the defensive 7. Obviously, Kellen Moore's offense is, I'll just say, interesting at the least. And Mike McCarthy doing stupid shit all the time. So, I mean, that's the only thing is I can't watch Cowboy games just because I have to see his ass on the fucking sideline. But that is not here nor there. The Tyronn Lue of football. Not Tyronn Lue. Who am I talking? Steve Nash. Steve Nash. I don't know why I was thinking Tyronn Lue right there. But,
good coach.
Yeah, he's good, actually. So, yes, it was good. Obviously, our team, the Packers, got the win this week, which was awesome. Heading into a minus 15 or 14 spread this week with a possible no Mac Jones Patriots, I believe is the matchup. So that'll be a fun one. Who's Washington have this week?
Got the Cowboys. Got the Cowboys.
Ooh, okay. That'll be good.
I mean, after Wentz got sacked, 8 times last game? Now a better defensive line. It's going to be a scary game. Wentz interception is going to be pretty rough too. Probably minus 200, something like that.
Yeah, there's been a lot of those that you're seeing around that minus 160 to 200, which is wild. It's wild to see those types of numbers on it. Obviously, we're going to talk about our Thursday night football stuff and then head on into the DFS slate for this week. Looking at this game, Miami versus Cincy. Obviously, we don't have full information yet out on the whole Tua stuff. I saw Waddle in practice. I don't assume that's going to be anything bad, but obviously his props aren't out or anything there. So this one's a little bit different than our other ones where we usually have the information by now. But is there something that you're looking for in the injuries? Like, is there a Tua prop that you're looking at or wanting to see a number at? Or is there like a Waddle thing that you're looking at as well? Obviously, Tyreek Hill numbers are up there and they're pretty high, but I mean, it's Tyreek Hill and you talk shit already about Eli Apple. So I'm interested to see that.
Yeah, I mean, the good thing is a lot of people have talked shit about Eli Apple, right? That guy sucks, so that's good. But yeah, I need to see some more Dolphins lines, man. There's really not giving us any options right now, and it makes sense why, right? I understand they kind of need to protect their liability right now. But yeah, I'm just scrolling through as we speak right now, and I just want to see where they price these running backs. You know, I just want a little bit more information, I guess, than we have so far. But for me, I think it matters a lot if Tua is playing. I think normally I'm the kind of guy that actually does like to attack the backup quarterback. I like to kind of take advantage of these situations where defenses may not be ready. But the way Miami stayed undefeated so far and the way they've kind of used this creative passing game, I don't know if Teddy Bridgewater is going to be able to continue that. Like, I think what Tua has been doing with the short passing game is very impressive, but it's tailored to his skill set. It's kind of like bringing in a mobile quarterback, you know, and asking them to use a regular quarterback's playbook. Like, I'm kind of curious to see how this game would look with Teddy Bridgewater, and I would be lower on these Dolphins receivers by a good little bit rather than if it was actually Tua in, where I would feel more confident with a guy like Waddle, who's just been killing it recently.
Yeah, no, I like that it was a back injury and it wasn't a head, because obviously if it's a head, then we're going to have a little bit more to worry about there. But I guess the whole thing was the back, and it tightened up on a QB sneak earlier in the game, and then he got hit, and then the back tightened up again. So with how bad it looked, I thought it was a head injury too there. But with it being a back injury, I feel a little bit more confident that he's going to play, especially in a showdown game like this. Heading over to the Bengals side, obviously, superstars on both on that team. You got Jamar Chase, you got T. Higgins, obviously Joe Burrow. Yeah, I think that we're going to be talking about them shortly here. So, what are they? 2-1 now? Are they 2-1?
Bengals 1-2. Yeah, 1-2. Yeah, versus one of the last remaining undefeated teams. So before we get into our props, I want to ask you who do you think's winning this one? Who do you think comes out with the win?
The line's weird, isn't it? -4. I mean, it was 3.5, right? And everybody's like, "Why is this 3.5? Why is this 3.5? I'm going to bet the Dolphins." And then it just keeps getting wider and wider. Kind of scares me a little bit, but we also saw the Chargers line move like that. And Herbert did play. I think obviously Herbert shouldn't have played. You could just tell. I think his completion percentage or balls on target was like 40% lower, so he really should not have played that game. But that's obviously not what we're talking about here. But I have to lean the Bengals at home. I have to take it. Even if Tua is like 75%, I'm going to have to roll the Bengals. I'm not going to bet it. I mean, I'm not going to put them in a survivor pool. I'm not going to put a stamp on it. But just the health of these guys kind of gets me a little bit nervous. And, I mean, short week after running 80 plays on the defensive end, dude, holy shit. That in 90-degree weather, too, like, now you have to travel after that. That's just a tough – short week, everything there. It's just there's a lot of stuff here that I think goes in the wrong way for the Dolphins. Is that kind of the same thing you were thinking of on those?
Well, I think it's an interesting one because I think all I'm hearing so far this week is kind of stuff like that. Look at all the plays they ran. Look how hot it was. Now it's a short week. They have a quarterback injury. Those are all very valid concerns. But really, I think this number right now, first of all, is kind of hedging its bets, right? Doesn't it feel like they're kind of half between Tua playing and half between Teddy Bridgewater playing? Like if Tua's out, it might move to 5.5 or 6. But if he stays in, we might actually see it go back to that 3.5 or stay in that 4 range. For me, I really do like Miami if Tua ends up starting right here. I understand it's a terrible spot game, so I understand all the kind of reason around that. But I really like what Miami's been doing so far, and the Bengals offense has not been good, right? They can't generate a good offense. I read a very interesting article on the Ringer about it, and it was pretty much saying their offensive creativity hasn't been great so far. They're essentially throwing against cover 2 and running against stacked boxes, and they're not able to mix up their play calling enough for whatever reason to kind of get into these better situations, right? And I don't know if there's a more creative team in football than the Dolphins right now. I mean, they were throwing multiple different looks, never letting Josh Allen get comfortable. They blitz a lot, and this Bengals offensive line is bad. It's very bad so far, despite the upgrades they've made. So I think that if this Miami team is operating close to full strength, I think they should be favored. I think they're the better team. I'll probably bet them on the spread and the money line if Tua is playing. I think they're the better team, and I understand they're on the road, and I understand it's a tough spot, but I like a lot of the individual matchups in the trenches this week.
Yeah, no, they definitely have the advantage up on the line there for sure. I'm reading on Pro Football Focus right now, and since he's like -5 in the run blocking, and it's like 10% advantage pass block. But I don't know how close that is with the matchups that they've had and stuff in there. But yeah, I think that we're on opposite sides. It's just I just don't know how I feel about this whole injury stuff and the line movement and all this, because now I'm just sketched out from the Herbert stuff. I think that's where I'm at, is where we saw this line move so much in one way. It's like there is no way this dude's playing, and then he's playing. It's just like this is why I don't bet the spreads. I don't bet the money lines. I just bet the props, and it's definitely it's going to be a weird one, this one. I'm curious when they're going to announce if Tua is playing or not, or if they're going to wait till like a couple hours before, because that would just be shitty.
Yeah, it's going to be shitty for prop betting, I think, but we'll have to do our best and maneuver around it.
Well, we got both sides out. Awesome to see that we're both on kind of differing sides, even though I really don't have a real take on the game. I never really do any spreads, but let's head into our plays here. 2 spots, all Bengal related, which I like to see here. And I'll kick it over to you for our first play of Thursday Night Football.
Yeah, to be fair, I mean, the only options I even saw were Bengals related up. I do see now DraftKings does have some Dolphins, but it looks like that happened post my research period an hour or so ago. But that's okay. That's perfectly fine with me. I'm going right now, T. Higgins over 22.5 for longest reception, -114 over on Barstool Sportsbook. I'm playing this one for half a unit. I'm seeing 23 everywhere else besides Barstool. I'm fine with that. That's still a good number, but I'll take the 1 point of value if a major sports book is giving it to me. And I've noticed Barstool kind of tends to be the last one to move their lines recently. So I know they limit people pretty quickly, but if you have an ability to bet on this book, I would suggest downloading it, getting a nice promo code in there, because I do think getting that 1 point does add up over the course of the season. It's interesting. A lot of people, when they think of this Bengals offense, they think of Jamar Chase as the deep threat, right? We remember all those like 200-yard games last season, those monster performances where, if you didn't have him on DraftKings, you just lost the week. You had to give up. You had to watch everyone else win. The interesting thing so far this year is that Higgins does have the higher average depth of target by a good couple points. I believe Higgins is sitting around 11 right now, while Chase is sitting around 8. And we even saw it last week. Chase's game log, I mean, that was not a very Jamar Chase. 4 for 29 with a touchdown, something like that. It seems like they're using him on a lot more of these shorter intermediate routes. And I do think that is because their offensive line hasn't been great, right? So they're kind of having to use him in these shorter yardage situations, get the ball out a little bit quicker. The good thing about longest reception is that you only need one play, right? One broken coverage, one miscommunication. And Higgins has been good, right? In those games where he's been healthy and he's been playing along Jamar Chase, both of those guys have been able to eat together. It's kind of a one or the other mentality a lot of the time in gambling. But I do believe when this team's offense is on, that Higgins and Chase can both succeed. Chase does have the tougher matchup with Xavier Howard on the outside. So I do like that for Higgins, obviously seeing a little bit better of a matchup right here. It's a tough one. I like both of those guys, but I do think that this number is a little bit short. I like that they're targeting downfield. Obviously, one of the best contested catch receivers in the NFL. We saw it with that touchdown last week, that clip that kind of went viral in the end zone where he just went all the way up and brought it down over the corner. Pretty insane athlete for, the size he is, right? The way he gets up like that. I think Higgins has a good game right here, and I think cashes this one for us.
Yeah, no, I'm happy you brought up Howard. I know he didn't practice yesterday. That's good, obviously, for what I'm going to be taking here. I'm not sure. Howard's like what? He's pretty big, ain't he? He's a pretty big corner.
Yeah, I would say relatively 6'2"? Average.
Yeah, 6'2". So I'm curious what he's going to do. I'm curious if he's going to trail him because I have the numbers up here too because it doesn't have him as the exact matchup for Howard. I mean, he could split. I have no idea. I don't watch enough Dolphins football. But without that, we'll head into my play here. Jamar Chase, 5 catches. Burrow, 2 touchdowns. You actually said the exact shit I was about to with the average depth of target. At the 8, that's a great stat to pull out. I think that's going to be very helpful here. With us only needing 5 catches for Jamar Chase, he hit that in every single game. He had 6 catches last game. And I do still has a 28% target share this year. To start out, obviously, I went into last year's numbers for some of this. And, that Bud Light commercial always pops up, and it's always just random times. But I'm talking about last year's numbers at home, and I'm looking at the home numbers there, and they're absurd. Like the home road splits, I don't usually take into consideration many of these, but when I looked at like Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase is here, obviously this one's at home. In the wins last year for Jamar Chase, so when the Bengals won, this is not the home run one, this is just wins, losses. 52 catches, over 1,000 yards and 8 touchdowns in wins versus 29, 449, and 5 touchdowns. That obviously a huge difference. And if we're going to go to home last year, 54 catches for 950 and 7 touchdowns, and only 27 catches for 510 and 6 touchdowns away from home. I thought that was pretty crazy number there. Obviously, Joe Burrow is the same exact way. Obviously, they're pretty correlated there. But he hit that last year in 13 of 17 in 7 of 10 home games last year. So I really like Joe Burrow to come through here. I think Chase's dump downs that you were talking about is very helpful here for only getting the 5 catches. And I do think T. Higgins is taking over that big role, right? That deep spot. I do like that. I think that we do see the targets raised a little bit more for Chase if they're going to continue to keep him in this role. But yeah, T. Higgins was also hurt for a lot of last year. He was in and out. So you never really know how he was last year. I know he obviously had a few pop-off games, but I think he is going to take over this role. He's a lot bigger dude too. So I don't know if you saw that catch in the end zone last game. Oh my God, that was one of the nicer catches I've seen. I don't know how that wasn't a catch, but man, dude, it was crazy. I like that it's pretty even in pass blocking. I think that helps out both T. Higgins and Joe Burrow. And also, I don't think that Joe Mixon's 100% right now. So I don't think that we're going to see that much goal line beating, that he's going to have here. Because obviously I think he practiced yesterday in full, but he sat out Monday. He has some ankle injury, I think it is. So I think that also helps for goal line touches and possibly throwing it in versus running it in with Mixon.
Yeah, no, I like this play, and I think a lot of people might look at our 2 plays and kind of think they're contradictory. But I actually kind of disagree. I think we're agreeing very much so on the roles these two guys are going to play, right? We're talking about a Dolphins team that blitzes more than almost anyone else in the NFL. And what happens is they trust a lot of their guys in man coverage, right? So what I'm looking for is that one play, that one-on-one matchup. Higgins is going to get a couple of those and him to convert on that one downfield play. And what you're looking for is on every other play, right? The number one receiver on the team, the higher target share receiver, to kind of take care of those shorter intermediate routes, especially with all that blitzing that's going to be coming at Burrow. So I was looking at Chase 5 catches and something to pair it with as well. I told you that right before the show. So while it may seem like our plays are a little bit contradictory, I actually definitely agree with this one right here. And yeah, the Mixon red zone usage has been weird. He's been getting the opportunities, but really inefficient so far. So it seems like Burrow's going to have to keep relying on the pass catchers, which is good for my touchdown parlay guy, who we'll get to later in the show.
Yeah, and obviously we won't talk about that one yet. But what I do really like, too, is they obviously do have that guy added in. They have multiple guys in the red zone who can make plays. And in a primetime game, big game like this, you don't see many of those 30-yard field goals, right? When they're in the red zone, you have a chance, you're first and goal. You're going to go for it in this spot. You know you're going to have to outscore this team. You're not going to be able to kick field goals with these guys. And I think that also helps here, too. Instead of going to the field goals, we might see them go for it a little bit more often and try to get into the end zone a little more than just take the easy way out, take the field goal, take the point. So, yeah, I think we are good there. I don't think we have any questions. I know Plus Money Bob's bringing up the investigation. I don't think he had a concussion. Did they say he did?
Well, I think that's what they're investigating. I think they're investigating just what happened in this, right? Because that video was so negative, right? We all saw that and we all assumed that something really bad happened, but then they're saying it was actually a back spasm, right? And or something similar to that. So I think there's just a lot of confusion, but I don't think there's going to be any game-altering news. I think Tua either plays or he doesn't. I'm not sure if this investigation – the fact we like to do these conspiracies, there's a lot of funny videos about it, but it is a non-football doctor, right? These people would get fired if they're, and screw up their credibility in their lives and possibly open themselves up to lawsuits if they were actually like just letting players run back on the field or whatever they're looking into. So I'm just going to have to assume that nothing is going to turn up from that. If it does, we'll have to adjust like that. And yeah, Bob says he's never seen a back spasm like that. That's completely fair. I'm not a doctor. I have no clue what's going on. I agree. It looked fucking terrible, right? When I watched it, I think everyone was like, oh, God, he's, really messed up. But we'll just have to trust what's going on and see what happens.
Yeah, I'm not sure if the NFL is the same way as, like, college, but, like, we had to go through, like, you have to go through, like, games and tests.
Yeah.
And you have to do it when you're fine, and then you have to take it. And if you're not within a couple minutes of finishing in it, in those same realms, you're done. Like, you have no choice. So he must have been able to. He missed those last 2 minutes. So there was like a 25, 30-minute break in there from the 2-minute warning to that end of halftime for him to come out. So he had to have passed it, or else it would have been – they'd be in real big trouble. But I know that's what we make our players do, and I had to do when I played too. So they made you go through all of those fun little games that you have to be able to pass in like a certain amount of time. So I'm sure they did the test. I mean, I don't think you could possibly find a way to not do it.
Yeah.
So I think it's a little bit more blown up out of proportion than I think it is. But we got one question in here from our guy Sabur. Bringing up Mixon over 18.5 receiving yards. Is this a spot you want to go to? I completely don't care about Mixon's receiving yards. I would probably lean rushing because I'm going to be on both of these receivers, tailing your play and mine. So I'm going to be leaning more towards the receivers to get the balls here. Do you have any thoughts on Mixon over 18.5?
Yeah, it's a fair number. I would say it's a very fair number. It's kind of where I would expect it to be. I think maybe if we see it fall down to maybe like 15 or 14, I think that's where we see a little bit more value on it. I think it kind of goes with my general thoughts on the game that the Miami blitz and the Miami pass rush is going to have some success, which obviously does mean that Mixon will be available for more check downs. So I think it's a solid one, but I kind of agree with you. This is at 18.5. I think it's a pretty fair line. So I'm not necessarily looking to go either way at the moment.
Damn, I just got news that Joey Bosa is on the IR now.
Really?
Well, that's big. Groin injury, I guess, is pretty bad. So, yeah, I would just pass on this. I'm glad that you took those for sure. Terrence bringing up the Edmonds Mostert. I hate this backfield. I think it sucks. I don't think there's even a rhyme or reason for anything they're doing. I'm going to be talking about Edmonds in a little bit, but why is the smallest guy on your roster taking the goal line carries? I don't get it. Why is Edmonds not getting more pass reception? Like Edmonds for the Cardinals was fantastic. He was great at what he was asked to do. So why is he not getting used in this way, especially with a short guy, a short pass catching role that Tua wants? Why is Mostert even? I don't even care if Mostert gets 12 carries in the game, but Edmonds is significantly better pass catcher, significantly better in space. It just doesn't make sense to me. I really don't understand what they're trying to do. Maybe limit Edmonds' workload early in the season so he's ready for the end. I don't know, but yeah, I think Edmonds definitely has a higher ceiling. I just don't understand what they're really doing with Mostert here for a lot.
Yeah. I like both of these guys too, like as players. Like Mostert's got crazy speed. He's also very good in space as well. But Edmonds, he should be perfect for this team. Like Edmonds, in theory, fits this team so well, especially with, like you said, what he did with the Cardinals last year. His patch, because he can run routes. He doesn't just do those little dump offs. He can run routes in the slot, right? We've seen them do it a little bit so far. I'm not sure why Edmonds isn't getting more short passing game use, but I can't deal with these guys. It's not, anything I want any involvement in. I'm gonna pass on that 100%. I'm not gonna be betting on either of them.
Yep. I would think that's probably the safest way. Jose bringing up on Bovada. I do not have Bovada, so if you can go over there, plus 127, good odds for that play. I was on DraftKings for that one. So let's head over to Pickett. We got our play of the week here, most bet spot, and it's one that's related to yours. Do you have? I would assume you're probably tailing this one, or am I right for thinking that?
Yeah, I have to say I like my bet more than I like their bet. You know what I mean? Like it's kind of how I felt week one, actually, when you had Terry McLaurin receiving yards, which did cash, I believe, right? It's still cashed.
Yep.
But I said on the show, I really like longest reception more, and it kind of worked out that way, whereas catch was like a long bomb that ended up getting him there. So I'm going to tail for the same reason that I tailed your bet there, as well as that I do think he gets over. I would just much rather bet longest reception than total receiving yards.
Yeah, I'm gonna fade because I've tailed the last 4, and I think he does have. I wouldn't be surprised to see his line at like 2 catches for 60 yards, and one of them's a 50-yard touchdown. He gets there for fantasy guys, gets there for everything, but he just doesn't get the volume because I think that that's what they're using Chase for, and that's what where Tyler Boyd come from, right? They're using these guys underneath. And obviously still have Hayden Hurst across the middle. So it's like there's a lot of underneath guys, whereas you could see 6 targets out there to Higgins. Maybe he only comes down with 2 of them because they're obviously harder to complete going 40 yards down the field. But I definitely think that it could easily crush in like 3 plays. But I'm going to take the under just because I've been on the over for like the last 4. So I have to mix it up a little bit for our pick and play of the week here. Make sure to go follow us over there. I see we're both kind of moving up in our followers. I think we're both over the 600 plateau now. So make sure you use the code PTP over there. Get the free money over there. And go follow us for sure. I did drop my home run props for today over there already. But yeah, now it's on to DFS. We are over to Sunday stuff now. Obviously not taking our bets yet. There's not a lot of plays out yet. I don't think there's many props out there yet. But where are we looking? Where are the target spots? Obviously, there's some pretty high totals in this week. What is the one game that's going to be on your main TV? And what's the game is that going to be the game that you want to target for fantasy?
I mean, it's got to be Buffalo-Baltimore, right? I mean, no secondaries on either team. Freaking Bills coming off a loss, coming in angry after a division rival right there. I think Sparks could fly in this one. I mean, I love 2 teams that have no secondaries. That's going to be a fun game, right? So I think I will definitely be playing a lot of pieces in this one and probably betting on multiple guys in that game. That's definitely the big TV game for sure.
Yeah, no, I like that one. I'm curious how Lamar's going to be able to throw downfield, because if Dorsey's back, that's a hard defense to run up the middle on, dude. He's a stud. I'm curious how they're going to do there. Obviously, I want to see Lamar throw the ball down the field here. Obviously, going to need a spy on him. We saw Milano play pretty well in last game, so I'm pretty sure they'll probably spy Lamar and make things a little bit harder for him. But I think I'm gonna keep that game on the down low for me. I'll be talking about that shortly. But I'm actually curious to see the Eagles. I'm curious to see the Eagles Jaguars. We've been Jaguars truthers from week one. There's not been many people out here talking about Trevor Lawrence since week one. And that was my boy week one. Bet on him, bet on Christian Kirk. We've been riding with him in DFS. They've been making us money. I'd be surprised if you could find many more people talking about him as much as we are. So I really want to see them take this step forward. I'm tired of people talking about that Chargers game. Herbert looked like shit. Like, that was not Justin Herbert, dude. That's literally a skeleton of himself.
Yeah.
So I don't take a ton from that game, but what I do take away is from that offense against that defense. That's what I take away. I don't take away how that defense was all over the place doing that, but that offense looked nice. And that Chargers defense tortured Mahomes.
Yep.
Tortured Mahomes. Made shit so hard for him. Because guess what? Herbert being hurt doesn't change your defense, right? Obviously, it might put you in weaker positions and stuff like that, and maybe worse field position. But man, dude, that Chargers defense is nice. Obviously, the Bosa injury is crazy, but they torched them.
Yeah, no, and like you said, I mean, the Chargers defense just got done making every good offense look bad, right? And all of their first couple weeks, they just looked dominant, and then suddenly Trevor Lawrence and the Jags catch them off guard and play really well. So that was my main takeaway as well. My biggest problem is, man, I wish these two teams were playing other teams. Like, I feel like we're buying so high on both of them now. The hype is now finally, like you said, we loved it week one. The hype is finally here in week 3 for the Jags. The hype has been here for like 3 months about the Eagles. So these two are like two of the most popular teams at the moment. And I kind of wish I could take advantage of that popularity and fade them against other teams. But they're playing each other, which makes it a little bit tougher. But yeah, I'm hyped to see this one. I really want to see where these two teams stand, because like you said, that game yesterday kind of woke a lot of people up to the Jaguars and the Eagles. I don't know if the Eagles have fully been tested yet. I know they played the Vikings and they looked very good. It'll be curious to see how Jacksonville kind of shows up to this game because, I'm very excited for this one as well.
Yeah, if the Vikings didn't beat the Packers, what would they even look like, bro? They barely did anything, right? They barely beat the Lions at home, right? So, like, everybody was hyping up the Vikings so hard. But the Packers would lose to, like, a college team in week 1, bro. That just literally, as being a Packer fan, it's the most annoying thing in the world because you get so hyped for the season and they always suck week 1. It's just like, dude, I don't get it. I don't understand it. So yeah, we talked about our favorite games. Is that Baltimore game the game that you want to target the most for props / DFS purposes? Is that the one you're looking at too?
I think so. I think we have a guy I'm talking about for my favorite stud in this game, but I do think Lamar might also be in that category. We'll have to see where the ownership is. I've already bet on Prize Picks. We don't have any real lines yet, but this is a nice little spoiler for those people that are still with us right here. I bet his passing yards already. Lamar at 230 on Prize Picks. I think he's proven the pass rate over expectation has been there. The pass rate in neutral game situations has been there. J.K. Dobbins only carrying the ball 7 times is a factor. I think Lamar is going to be a fantasy monster. Back-to-back 100-yard rushing games with touchdowns as well. That's going to be fun. He's going to have to do a lot of kind of this offense on his own this week. So I think Lamar is definitely going to be in a lot of my DFS lineups, assuming the ownership doesn't get crazy.
Yeah, I'm sure that game's going to be obviously the most popular. But how many people lost because they sacked that Miami Bills game last week and had the Miami guys, right? And that's just how it works out sometimes. So sometimes there's good chalk and sometimes there's bad. And I don't think you can really point to being bad with Lamar Jackson as your starting quarterback there. So let's head on over to our studs of the week, our top guys that we are rolling with. I'll kick it over to you first. You're fading your own team. You're fading your own team. It's like going back to MLB season already. So what are we talking about here with AJ Brown?
Yeah, well, the interesting thing, too, is last week when the Eagles did play Washington, right, A.J. Brown wasn't necessarily the guy as much. It was Devonta Smith, right? He had that 160-yard, I believe, passing performance it was, and the whole world was kind of – we've seen his DraftKings price go up. We've seen the player prop lines go up. And I think that gives us a good opportunity to now buy a little bit lower off of A.J. Brown coming into a good matchup right now. I think you can beat Jacksonville over the middle of the field too. We've seen A.J. Brown. He's not running short routes. He's running down the field routes, but a lot of them do progress kind of over the middle, right? Trying to give him some space, trying to bust up these opposing zone defenses right here, which I think he can do very well. I think his price is expensive. A lot of people are going to kind of look at A.J. Brown and look at people in that territory, and they're going to go, you know what? I think I'd rather play one of these other guys, Amon-Ra St. Brown, a lot of these guys in this expensive wide receiver territory. But I do think A.J. Brown at the low ownership that I believe he's going to be at, it's going to be a great target in a game that I think you and me both agree is going to be a very close, competitive, offensive game right here. So I'm looking for a good bounce back. I think a lot of people are going to click on it. They're going to go, didn't Devonta Smith he had 150 last week. Maybe we go Devonta and we save $2,000 and we spend up at running back instead. I think that's going to leave A.J. Brown at surprisingly low ownership for kind of what he's shown so far this season.
Yeah, no, I love it. I think that's a great breakdown. You said it last week too with the buying down and trying to maybe go to Gabe Davis versus Stephon Diggs, or when you have a 1A, 1B like that, it's tough. But I mean, if we're going skill for skill, A.J. Brown's still a tier above Devontae Smith. I don't care what it is. I'm going with Christian McCaffrey. I did see that he popped up with that. I know you brought that up to me. You know what else happened last week? He popped up with an ankle injury, and the man touched the ball 28 times. So I don't think they give a shit. I think that they know that this is the only way that they're going to win these games is to probably give it to the most explosive back in football, right? Obviously, they are facing off against I can't even talk right now. Let me pull up their thing. They're facing off against Arizona. I love that matchup. I love it all day. Obviously, 27 or 28 attempts last week. I am a little bit concerned about the catching prowess that he's had, but they've been just running the ball all over the place. He has 50 carries already through 3 games. 50 carries. That's way higher than where he's been at. He's averaging 17.3 fantasy points per game, and this man has 10 catches so far this year. That's how much he's going on the ground. He's only scored 1 touchdown. You know the equity is coming up. Arizona hasn't been able to stop anybody. I am not worried about this defense at all. Christian McCaffrey on any linebacker is just criminal. He's going to obviously cook these dudes, and I need to see Baker do some checkdowns here like he used to do with Kareem Hunt. It's got to be coming here. We expect them to probably be losing. Vegas expects them. Oh, my God. Vegas has them favored by 1 now. But, man, I was not expecting to see them as a favorite. But I'm not concerned. I think that actually helps me that he has this quad injury to bring down ownership because they're going to think that he's not going to be able to do it. And especially when you have Jonathan Taylor for only $100 more, I think that Christian McCaffrey's going to be low owned. I think he has a ton of ability here to be the top scoring running back of the week. So I really, really like this spot.
Yeah, I think you and me have very similar strategy right here. I think we're kind of buying on the guys that'll be forgotten in their range. I don't know if I'm going to have the balls to get to CMC this week just because it feels like when you're betting on CMC, you're betting on him working against his terrible coaching staff, this disgusting offense that every week so far this season has played a well below average snap rate, right? They're so slow. They don't run a lot of plays. It's hard to get that fantasy production. And this offensive, brain trust that is calling these plays is just disgusting. Like you said, he's persevered through that so far, despite barely catching any passes. And I think it puts you in a position where CMC could be the highest scoring guy every single week. And getting that at low ownership is obviously value, especially against the Cardinals. The Cardinals suck this year, man. Like in my head, there was like a small chance that Kyler Murray was going to be the MVP and he's just going to be really good. and we were all going to be proven wrong. That's not happening so far. It's not been like that. So I don't know. It'll be an interesting matchup, but I just wish this Panthers could like fire their coaching staff so I could play CMC with some peace of mind.
Yeah, let's go back 2 years ago when CMC was obviously, I mean, I don't think he's lost that much of a step. He's still obviously explosive. What was the lowest ownership you would ever find Christian McCaffrey? The dude was 10K, and he was still getting 40% ownership. He was like the chalk every single week, and you're going to give me way lower pricing, and you're going to give me a lot less ownership. These are the ones that you kind of have to play if you want to take down these bigger fields, because no one else is really going to want to go there, and it is very uncomfortable. I know it is very uncomfortable, but this is why we have our value plays, and that's why we're going to head over to them now. I'll kick it to you first.
Yeah, I'm going to go with my guy, Mac Hollins. Past the prop legend, Mac Hollins. We love finding our Raiders receivers. I feel like we haven't got a chance to victory lap that last week. We talked about Mac Hollins on every show. We talked about him on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, because I came on last Monday very angry because I had Devontae Adams, and I told you the TV announcers are saying that Mac Hollins is his favorite target, and I don't know why they're saying that, but it appears it's true, right? You trade for your college teammate, and he takes a step back to Mac Hollins. He's going to be more popular this week. We don't love that. We obviously got to play him at lower ownership last week. But even the thing is, I think if Renfrow plays, that's actually good for his ownership. Him and Hunter Renfrow don't play the same role. Mac Hollins looks like a tight end out there. He's like 6'6". You just throw him up the ball, and it seems like he figures it out. Hunter Renfrow is going to be playing out the slot. Hollins will be outside. It does mean there's going to be less opportunities, right? We'll probably see 4 or 5 targets go back to Hunter Renfrow, but that still doesn't diminish that Mac Hollins will still have that high route participation. He'll still be there on the outside. I think at his current price point, it's just a little bit too hard to ignore for me.
Yeah, no, I think we have mentioned him in like 3 straight weeks of just like what. First one, it was like, what the fuck is going on? Second one's like, this can't be real. And now it's the third time. It's all right, time to go. Just the progression of the Mac Hollins train is going. So I guess I'm probably the only person on Twitter who would consider himself the Geno Whisperer. So I'm gonna go with Geno Smith here. This is probably the best matchup you could possibly have. You are facing off against the Lions. Gave up 260 and 2 touchdowns to Kirk Cousins, who in the first half was awful. The second half, he just started cooking this team. Obviously, the Lions ended up losing. Go to Carson Wentz. What did Carson Wentz do? 330 yards, 3 touchdowns, right? He threw the infamous whatever pick that was in that game, but still put up a massive fantasy day. And then obviously, I'm not even going to talk about Jalen Hurts because there's no reason I would ever think Geno Smith is going to do what Jalen Hurts was doing. So I won't even bring that up. But we've seen top 10 performances by the quarterbacks against the Lions in the first, like I said, I'm not going to talk about week 1 because Jalen Hurts just nuked these guys. But from 2 average-ish quarterbacks, I would say. I know Carson Wentz is the number 1 quarterback in your mind, but now we have Kirk Cousins out there doing 260 and 2 touchdowns on these guys. I think he obviously has the playmakers to do it. DK Metcalf is priced up, so I don't think that people are going to go to him as a one-off. I think you can get some cheap price points there on a cheap Tyler Lockett and a 6,800 DK who's no one's going to want to click that. No one's going to want to put Geno Smith at 5,400 in their lineup. But all I need is 15, right? All you need is 15 points at that price point, and you're only paying 5,400 for it. This allows me to throw in CMC and probably another high-end wide receiver into these builds. Like I said, it's going to be uncomfortable, but we're not going for the super popular chalk guys, right? We're trying to win lineups, right? We're trying to win tournaments. We're not playing 50-50s here. We're playing for the big ones. So it's got to be uncomfortable a little bit, and that's how you kind of get separate from people. Sign me up, Geno Smith. It hurts me to do it, but hey, we're 1 for 1. Let's go 2 for 2 with Geno Smith.
Yeah, I applaud your bravery for once again publicly putting your face behind some pro Geno Smith talk. I definitely applaud the bravery. I don't think I'm going to get there. The thing is, I like dumpster diving at quarterback, right? I like getting down and dirty, and it is a good matchup, right? Like you said, it's probably the best matchup you could have. It's just such an ugly play. There are guys in that range. If he was like the dead min, right? I know I guess they can't do that against the Lions. If he was 5K, but just seeing seeing Ryan Tannehill at this pretty much the same price. Marcus Mariota only $200 more. Where Marcus Mariota plays a tougher defense, he could also run for 100 yards. Also, Zach Wilson. We don't know how that offense is obviously going to come out now that they moved from Joe Flacco, but Wilson did have a couple ceiling games last season, and it seems like they might be throwing a lot. It just feels like the Geno Smith upside isn't there. You essentially need them to be only passing in the red zone. That's the way this pays off value, is 2 touchdowns along with, 230, 240 passing yards, something like that, and to not make too many mistakes. I'm just kind of worried when they get to the red zone, a guy like Rashad Penny may be a little bit more involved, maybe vultures one of your touchdowns, then suddenly your path to upside is very rough. I would say cash games, it's more acceptable, but if you're playing like a GPP where you need that upside, I just don't think I can get to Geno Smith this week.
I love where Vegas is at. They just released Geno Smith props. He is officially going to make the card this week. They're putting his passing yard line at 250 plus 100 for 2 touchdowns. No one's going to want to touch that. That's ugly numbers, but 250 for Geno Smith here. All I need is Tyler Lockett and DK to pop one off. Hey, when we win the Millie and I come back on Monday, I'm going to be dripped out. I'm going to be wearing a Geno jersey.
Yep.
And probably a tat of Geno on my chest here. I'm just going to put it right there. If I win that Millie, boys, we're going to push back the show to probably 4 p.m. because I'll probably still be drunk by 2. So we're going. Geno's going to do it. He's going to do it for the boys. He's going to do it. I'm feeling it. Geno vibes. Let's go, baby. Sign me up for Geno. Fuck, I'm hyped. I just want football now. I just want a football game right now so I can just get this going. I got juices are flowing. Whew, I don't know how I'm supposed to continue after that much hype behind.
Well, I'll throw in one more guy that I like this week. Then I'll get us away from Geno Smith for my sanity, and I guess your sanity too. You got the hat on. I like AJ Dillon a lot this week. I'm kind of curious what you were thinking. I was looking at Romeo Doubs at first. He had that good week. His line was only 39 on Prize Picks, I believe. But then I realized Brian Hoyer is going to start this game, which means Aaron Rodgers might need to complete 3 passes. Brian Hoyer is 45 years old. I have a very hard time believing the Patriots are going to score at all in this game. Even if they were the best rush defense in football, I think I'd still like A.J. Dillon. He might touch the ball 25 times this game. I don't know. Do you have any thoughts on that as a Packers guy?
I think my best bet would be in this game is if they release Rodgers pass attempts at 34. If they give me 34, I'm going to hammer the under.
Yeah.
This is the type of game where we've seen against the Bears where they literally just want to punch you in the mouth just continually. They'll use obviously Dillon and Jones, but they're using the pass game to open up. So they're just doing it for a couple shot plays. I don't know if you watched them when they played the Bears. They're going those 60-yard bombs down there, just trying to do it in one quick play. And then you have to put the safety back, and they just run it again until you do it again, until you bring another guy down. So I think that would be my lean here if I'm going to take a bet in this game. But, dude, A.J. Dillon, who the fuck wants to tackle someone like that after 20-something carries already? It's such a demoralizing feeling. You got Bakhtiari back. Jenkins looks fantastic. That line handled the Buccaneers line, which is not something you hear about ever. Buccaneers was the number 1 ranked fantasy defense through the first 2 weeks, right? Obviously, the Packers are a little bit better, but they did not really allow as much pressure as I expected. That's where I was kind of worried when they brought Bakhtiari back and only having a couple snaps under his belt. That line looks great. I think they're going to get a great push throughout this entire game. And like I said, I would take under, and I love the Dillon and Jones one. It's just what annoys me is I don't know who's going to be like that 10 yards and out. Dillon will get the inside the 5 carries, but they've been using them so much together that it's very hard to pick which one's going to score the touchdown, which is the only thing I can give us as a downfall. But if it's inside the 5, I mean, it's A.J. Dillon all day. So that obviously helps your Dillon bet for sure. Yeah, that Patriots line, I'm sure it's going to get to 10.5, bro. Fuck. It's already at 10. Jesus Christ. All right, let's do our recap, guys. We'll get through our recap here and then head on into our touchdown parlay. We don't do anything under 4 digits no more. We're only going 1,000 pluses here. So make sure you tune in and stay tuned for that. Let's get it going here. I'll kick it to you first.
Yep, I'm going T. Higgins over 22.5, longest reception, -114. Seeing this over on Barstool Sportsbook, playing it for half unit. I also like it at 23. I also did want to say I left out one thing in my little thing explanation earlier. Dolphins 27th in explosive pass percentage, 8 passes over 25 yards allowed already this season so far. I just wanted to throw that in there. That's a nice little stat for you guys as well.
Love it, love it, love it.
And then, yep, for DFS, I'm liking A.J. Brown at low ownership. He's going to make his way into a lot of my lineups so far. This week. And then as my cheap guy, I'm going past the prop legend, Mac Hollins, to keep on keeping on.
Is he more of a legend than Gino, though? I don't know. I mean, they're fighting.
Yes.
They're throwing hands for that. We'll see who comes through. Obviously, I'm rolling with my value guy in Geno Smith. I'll be rolling with Christian McCaffrey as my stud this week. I'm going to be rolling with a combo here. This is a DraftKings line at -110. I did see somebody post this was plus money over on Bovada. If you have that, we are heading to Jamar Chase, 5 catches to go along with Joe Burrow, 2 touchdowns. And I will be fading Mr. T. Higgins over 68.5. I'll be heading to the under there. And you were on the over, I believe.
Yeah,
correct?
I'll be tailing.
Beautiful, beautiful. All right. Let's head into the touchdown. I'm about to actually activate the DK link. It's about to come out shortly here. So I'm going to kick it to you for your touchdown guy, and I'll get that sent into the chat.
Sounds good. I'll be going with Hayden Hurst. I love me a tight end touchdown on Primetime. It feels like it's the way to go. I also like his odds, seeing plus 330 on FanDuel as opposed to, I believe, plus 265 over on DraftKings. A nice little difference right there. He obviously was very involved in the first 2 weeks. Last week, he was very limited with a groin injury. He didn't play his full complement of snaps, but that might kind of surprise some people or take them away from this one. He practiced today. It's looking like he's going to be good and ready to go for this game. Hurst has been very involved so far. Hey, I just hit his teammate last week, or his former teammate, Njoku, for a touchdown. I'm kind of thinking the good vibes continue with a Hayden Hurst touchdown. It's prime time, guys. We don't have that many options. It's way more fun for us to go on these higher odds ones than, Jamar Chase plus 100 is obviously a good bet. He's been a red zone monster this season. Let's shoot for the stars a little bit. Get Hayden Hurst in the end zone.
Love it, love it, love it. I'm heading to Chase Edmonds. I know we talked about how we hate this backfield, and I hate it too, but I love to see Chase Edmonds getting the red zone work. Last week, 2 touchdowns, only 7 touches. Obviously, 7 touches in a game where you run like 38 plays is pretty damn good. So I do like this spot. I think he has the ability, obviously, to do it from outside the red zone as well. I like his explosiveness. I think they're going to have to use him. I'm sure that this is going to still be a running back by committee, but I really thought that the red zone work was very, very important for me to see. And I think that he's going to get some dump downs here, whether to be leading or behind later in this game. And if Bridgewater plays, I think that Edmonds actually might get more catches here because Bridgewater just loves those little running back flip outs that he used to do over in Denver. So I think that either way, I think Edmonds is still viable. Obviously, if Tua's playing, it's going to be higher up on my fantasy board here for sure. So, yeah, I do like this week's spot for Chase Edmonds. 1,118, another pretty big number here. I'm sure a lot of people are going to be heading to your Jamar Chases and your bigger ones there. You always have these weird dudes for some crazy ass long shots. So who are you looking at? You got to give me one. Obviously, is this Mr. Smythe?
I was going to say, you're teeing me up for my guy, Durham Smythe. I may have bet him the first 2 weeks, and it may not have worked, but hey, if we're still getting it at plus 850, that essentially means I have 6 more weeks to bet it until I'm not profitable anymore. I only need 1, and Durham Smythe is still out there. He's still the blocking tight end, while Gesicki is the pass-catching tight end, which means Gesicki will obviously get kind of the first look, but on some of these running plays, on some of these creative red zone opportunities, they're going to have these 2 tight end sets, right, for blocking purposes, and I do think he might get a chance. So I'm just going to keep going with my guy, Durham Smythe, at plus 850 until I'm financially bankrupt and I can't do it anymore. I'm not sure it's a great idea. Looking at the Miami guys, it was tough for me, right, because freaking River Craycraft scored a touchdown, who is like essentially a random guy that was playing on the 49ers, I believe, over the last couple of years. Kind of a practice squad, a special teams kind of guy. We saw him get in the end zone. Now his odds are pretty far down. A guy like Trent Sherfield, though, who's been getting some good action at plus 550 is interesting. And then Cedric Wilson is plus 850. He's behind River Craycraft in the odds. And they actually paid him in the offseason to come here. He got like a $30 million contract. I don't know if Cedric Wilson just isn't good, but those kind of Miami wide receivers are a little bit interesting to see. Like they're priced pretty highly up there.
For sure. Yeah, I had to find a way to get Durham Smythe's name into the show. It didn't matter. Paul, I did just post the link right underneath you. So if you guys want to jump in there, for sure, do that. Make sure you guys DM me if you guys won. I know you guys messaged me on Monday, but obviously I get the money from Pick a Guys usually on Wednesday. So if you were a winner from this past week, DM me. We'll get you guys that money. And congrats to you guys for the 3 people who won there. Pretty shitty week for like the Millie Maker, even like the top lineups. There wasn't many of those big 50-point scores, 40-point scores like we've seen. I think the winning one in ours is like 150, where the first 3 weeks were like 200. So good for you guys. We got to be able to adapt and win the rock fight weeks in there too. But yeah, we got all of our plays out. We got our DFS picks for the week. Stu, what do you got for the people here before we head on out today?
Yeah, I mean, it's been a good show. I really enjoyed today. I think we gave a lot of good information, even who was kind of more subtle beyond just our 2 bets and our 2 favorite DraftKings guys. But we're going to have bets all week long. We're starting to see weekend lines trickle in, which means you and me both are going to have articles, videos, all that kind of stuff over on Twitter. I don't know about you. I know you mentioned you posted your home run over on Pickett already. I'm going to go have to check that out because there's no football on tonight, which means I need to bet on something, right? That's just the point we are at in our lives. I need something juicy to bet on. So I'm going to go over check Pickett. If you guys are not on the app, use code PTP to see those home run plays as well. If you watch the show every week and you haven't downloaded the free app that gives you money, I don't know what you're doing. I mean, you live your life however you want. I'm not trying to control anything, but when somebody gives me a chance for free money, I'm going to take it. So you guys should take it too. That's my life advice. Code PTP over on Pickett. Tail is home run parlays, all that stuff, and get some money.
Love it, Terrence. Make sure you DM me over on Twitter. I think we definitely talked before over on Twitter. So just obviously send me a message there. We'll get you that $50. Congrats as well. I'm happy to see that it's a lot of you guys winning, the guys who we see a lot in here. Obviously grabbing some advice if you need it. Maybe I should be taking advice from you guys on some of these because some of my lineups I've been throwing some darts, but hopefully one of these is going to hit because we've been throwing these darts at the bullseye and we've been hitting like the ones and stuff right now because so my quarter Tua gets hurt last week, the week before that, just been all over the place. I haven't had my Mariota magic like Stu has.
Hey, Mac Jones outscored Mariota in my lineup last week too. Just the rest of the team sucked. I picked Aguilar, not Devontae Parker. So
that's dude, I saw that Parker went off. But before we head out, thank you guys again for tuning in. We appreciate it. And smash that like button on your way out and check out all of our other content over on Twitter and Pickett. We'll be putting it out all week. Friday, very excited, ton of action, a lot of big totals. I think we're gonna have another good week. Again, guys, I know a lot of you guys message about what our record is and stuff. I'm going to try to put it out there as much as possible. I know a lot of you guys want to make sure that we have it out there. I know we're putting out a lot of plays and a lot of content. So I want to obviously give you guys exactly where we're at and that we are in the green. Very, very happy. I need to post. I just need to take one chance to bask in my glory here from what I called yesterday. Everybody asked me if Aaron Judge was going to get a hit yesterday. And I quote unquote said, I would take his runs, hits, RBIs over 1.5 before I take his hit. He will be walked 4 times. Motherfucker was walked 4 times and it actually came through. So dude got like 18 fantasy points and didn't put a ball in play. That's impressive. So I would probably take the over 3.5. I mean, you got to give me plus 1,000 for that, huh? But yeah, a ton of baseball. Good luck to Josiah Gray as he heads into the Atlanta Braves series. Very, very tough. Yes, absolute. Definitely send me a message over there if you were first, second, or third. Obviously, you were second or third because Terrence won. But yes, thank you guys so much. We'll talk to you on Friday. We'll be back at noon. Remember, it's a different time on Friday, noon Central Time, to bring out some more plays. They're going to have 4 plays for you guys. Hopefully, we're coming back talking about a sweep and Durham Smythe cashing a nice touchdown ticket. So have a good one, guys. Best of luck. Peace.